Have you ever thought that maybe school isn't something you just have to get through? What if it could actually be an adventure? Well, today, we're going to dive into a pretty radical reimagining of our education system. We're going to explore what happens when we toss out the old rulebook and try to build something totally new. So let's just start with this one big question. What if the place our kids spend, thousands of hours of their lives felt less like a factory assembly line just churning out identical products and more like a grand expedition into the unknown? It sounds like a simple change in perspective, right? But it changes absolutely everything. Okay, so to really understand where we're going, we first have to get a clear picture of where we are. And the truth is, a lot of our schools are still running on a pretty old operating system. And this really gets to the heart of it. On the left, you've got the factory model. It's basically a relic from the industrial age, and it was designed for things like mass administration and efficiency. But on the right, you have a model built for something much more human, curiosity. We're talking active discovery, learning at your own pace until you really master something, and tackling problems that don't fit neatly into one subject. And what's the result of that old factory model? Well, when you teach subjects in these rigid, separate boxes, you get students who are really good at thinking inside those boxes. But the world's biggest challenges, stuff like climate change or global poverty, they don't care about those boundaries. They need us to connect the dots. So, what is the alternative? Well, it's called the Science Center model, and it's designed to completely flip the script. The vision here is to turn schools into places of action. Forget those quiet rows of desks. Picture a dynamic, really social place where kids are collaborating, they're experimenting, and they're learning by doing. School becomes the main event. It's the place you go to actually put your knowledge into practice. And look, this isn't just some fantasy. This model is already out there, and it's thriving in science centers all over the world. Just think about it for a second. These are places where kids get to climb into NASA capsules or build massive structures or even control Mars rovers. They are living, breathing blueprints for a whole new way to learn. And this right here is the central point. This isn't about scheduling a few more field trips. It's about fundamentally redesigning the entire architecture of education itself so that every single day is an exploration. Okay, so how does something like this work on a daily basis? Well, it's powered by a really smart mix of the physical and the digital. The digital side is really the engine that drives it all. Every student gets an app that unlocks the entire curriculum. They can learn at their own speed with videos, games, and cool simulations. And it taps into the power of active recall and getting instant feedback. Then, whenever they feel ready, they test their knowledge. And here's the genius part. Their progress is totally visible. They literally level up, which turns learning from some boring chore into a really satisfying game of understanding and moving forward. And hey, assessment is not just about a multiple choice test anymore. That's only one piece of a much bigger puzzle. This model uses a whole ecosystem of different ways to evaluate learning. Sure, traditional exams can test your foundational knowledge, but project-based work, that measures how well you collaborate and apply what you know in the real world. And portfolios can track your creativity over time. The whole goal is to recognize and reward every student's unique set of strengths. Now, this brings up a huge question, right? Who decides what actually gets taught in this new system? The answer is a pretty major shift from how things are done now. So instead of government bureaucrats making the calls, the curriculum is shaped by what's called a deliberative democracy of domain experts. What on earth does that mean? Well, to put it simply, the people who know a subject the best, the actual experts in the field, are the ones who get to shape how it's taught. A PhD in mathematics gets a vote on the math curriculum. A historian gets a say in history. It puts real expertise back in the driver's seat. And there's one guiding principle for every single thing they decide: utility. Every topic has to answer a student's most honest question: what is this for? And not just in a how will this get me a job kind of way, but in a much deeper sense. How does this knowledge help me see the world more clearly and live a better life? So what about the teachers in all of this? This model doesn't make them less important. It actually elevates their role to a whole new level. See, teachers are finally freed from being just lecturers, repeating the same material year after year. Since the core content is handled by the digital platform, they get to become learning guardians. Think of them as specialist guides who can diagnose exactly where a student is struggling and give them that crucial expert one-on-one support that really unlocks learning. Now, to make this all happen, we have to restore teaching as a respected, high-status profession. That means competitive pay, professional autonomy, and access to the best collaborative tools. And why is this so critical? Because you just can't build a world-class system without attracting and keeping world-class talent. The quality of an education system can never be better than the quality of its teachers. So, as we start to wrap up, let's just zoom out. Why does all of this matter so much? Because this isn't just another policy debate. A well-educated population is literally the bedrock of a functioning society. It's the one investment that unlocks our ability to solve every single other problem that we face. And that brings us to the final question we really have to ask ourselves. What is the ultimate goal of school? Is it simply to create efficient, employable units for the economy? Or is it something more profound? Is it to help create human beings who are sharper, braver, and just more fully alive? The answer we choose is going to define the world we build next.